The large silver ship descended through Earth's atmosphere on a clear morning in July 2150. People around the world watched their screens as the vessel hovered above the United Nations headquarters in New York. Nobody panicked. Humanity had been receiving signals from the Galadrian Collective for months. The aliens had sent messages of peace and friendship across the stars. They promised to share knowledge and technology. They said they came as friends. John Carter adjusted his formal suit as he waited with the other diplomats. As Earth's lead representative, he felt the weight of 7 billion lives on his shoulders. The sleek door of the alien ship opened with a soft hiss. 3 tall beings walked out. They had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Their eyes were large and dark. They moved with grace that made them appear to be floating. "Welcome to Earth," John said with a steady voice. "We are honored by your visit." The tallest alien stepped forward. "We bring greetings from the Galadrian Collective. I am Ambassador Zorn. We have traveled far to meet your kind." The first meeting lasted 6 hours. The aliens spoke perfect English, having learned it from our broadcasts. They explained that their collective included 7 different species from various star systems. All lived together in harmony. They offered Earth membership in their peaceful alliance. Later that evening, John sat in his office reviewing notes. His assistant Lisa Blackwell entered with 2 cups of coffee. "What do you think of them?" she asked, placing a cup on his desk. John rubbed his tired eyes. "They seem genuine. Their technology is centuries beyond ours. The medical advances alone could save millions of lives." Lisa nodded but looked troubled. "They asked a lot of questions about our military history." "They come from peaceful societies. War is foreign to them," John explained. "They seem concerned about how often humans have fought each other." "That's what worries me," Lisa said quietly. "I'm a military historian for a reason. Conflict has driven our greatest innovations. It's shaped our societies. It's part of who we are." John sighed. "Maybe that's something we need to move beyond." The next day, Ambassador Zorn requested a tour of human history museums. John and Lisa accompanied the aliens through exhibits showing human development. The Galadrians lingered longest in the war sections. They studied images of soldiers, weapons, and battlefields with strange fascination. "Your species has engaged in organized violence throughout your recorded history," Zorn observed. "This suggests it is fundamental to your nature." "We've made great progress toward peace," John insisted. "The last major war ended 20 years ago. We're learning to resolve conflicts through diplomacy." Zorn's large eyes blinked slowly. "Yet you maintain military forces, you develop weapons, you train for war even in times of peace." "It's complicated," Lisa interjected. "Some might say our readiness for conflict has protected our freedom. Our competitive spirit drives innovation." The alien turned to her. "Perhaps. But membership in our collective would provide security far beyond what weapons can offer. You would never need to fight again." Over the following weeks, the Galadrians shared small examples of their technology. They provided medicines that cured diseases humans had fought for centuries. They showed energy systems that pulled power from the air itself. They demonstrated materials stronger than anything Earth science had created. World leaders met in emergency session. The aliens had made their terms clear. Earth could join the collective and receive full benefits of alien knowledge. The condition was complete demilitarization. All weapons beyond local police needs would be eliminated. Military forces would be disbanded, defense systems dismantled. "We cannot accept these terms," said General Frank Morrison during the closed meeting. "Giving up our ability to defend ourselves would be suicide." "Defend against what?" the Chinese representative asked. "They're offering us the stars and asking us to put down our guns." "Seems like a fair trade." The debate raged for days. In the end, the promise of advanced technology, extended human lifespans, and an end to poverty proved too tempting. Earth would join the collective. The demilitarization would begin immediately. John delivered the news to Ambassador Zorn. The alien's face showed no emotion, but John sensed satisfaction. You have made a wise choice, Zorn said. Your world will know peace and prosperity beyond your imagining. That night, John couldn't sleep. Something about the aliens' interest in human warfare bothered him. He called Lisa. Do you think we're doing the right thing? He asked when she answered. There was a long pause. I hope so. But throughout history, when a people gave up their ability to fight, they usually ended up conquered. The Galadrians aren't conquerors. They've been nothing but helpful. Maybe, Lisa said. But I keep wondering why a peaceful collective of species needs us to disarm completely. True allies would respect our need for some security. 2 weeks later, the first phase of disarmament began. Nuclear weapons were dismantled under alien supervision. Military bases began converting to civilian use. Soldiers trained for new careers. General Morrison watched the process with growing unease. After a particularly troubling meeting with the alien observers, he contacted a small group of trusted officers. I'm not convinced of their intentions, he told them in a secure underground room. I'm establishing a contingency plan. Using resources hidden from official records, Morrison quietly began moving selected personnel and equipment to a secret facility on Europa, Jupiter's moon. The base had been an early military research station, officially closed years ago. If I'm wrong, no one ever needs to know about this, he told his confused officers. But if I'm right, we may be humanity's last line of defense. As Earth celebrated its new peaceful future, as alien technology began improving lives across the planet, as the first human delegations prepared to visit Galadrian worlds, the small base on Europa grew. Hidden from both Earth authorities and alien sensors, a corps of military personnel maintained their skills and weapons. 6 months after first contact, John attended a gala celebrating the new era of peace. Ambassador Zorn approached him with what appeared to be a smile. Your transition has been most impressive, the alien said. Your people have embraced peace with unexpected enthusiasm. John raised his glass. To new beginnings. Indeed, Zorn replied. The Collective's Governing Council is most pleased. They will arrive soon to formally welcome Earth, then the final phase can begin. Something in the way Zorn said, final phase, sent a chill down John's spine. But he smiled and nodded, pushing the feeling aside. After all, humanity had chosen peace. What could possibly go wrong? 5 years passed since the Galadrians first arrived on Earth. The world had changed in ways few could have imagined. Cities gleamed with new architecture inspired by alien designs. Hospitals cured diseases that once meant certain death. Clean energy powered everything from homes to transportation. No one went hungry anymore. The average human lifespan had already increased by 15 years thanks to Galadrian medical technology. Most people agreed that giving up weapons and armies was a small price to pay for such progress. Daniel Wright sat in his office at the Earth Galadrian Cultural Exchange Center. As a cultural liaison, he spent his days helping humans understand alien customs and helping the Galadrians learn about human traditions. He enjoyed his work but lately had noticed something odd. The art submissions for the upcoming festival lacked the spark and originality of previous years. The music compositions sounded pleasant but somehow empty. Even the children's creativity contest entries seemed dull and similar to each other. Daniel's assistant knocked on his door. The submissions for the poetry contest are ready for review. Thanks. Betty, how many did we get this year? Only 52. Last year we had over 300, Daniel frowned. This continued a troubling trend. Each year, fewer humans participated in creative activities. Sports competitions had also seen declining interest. Even academic research proposals had dropped by 60%. People seemed content but passive. Later that week, Daniel met his friend Susan Palmer for lunch. Susan worked as a neuroscientist at the main Galadrian research facility. They sat at an outdoor cafe near the central plaza where humans and aliens mingled freely. Have you noticed anything strange lately? Daniel asked after they ordered. Susan looked around before leaning forward. Like what? People seem different. Less driven. Less creative. Less competitive. Susan's face showed concern. I've noticed something in my research. We've been scanning human brains before and after they work with Galadrian technology. There are subtle changes in neural pathways. Nothing harmful, just small shifts in how the brain processes information. What kind of shifts? Areas associated with initiative and assertiveness show decreased activity. I thought it might be a side effect of the stress reduction benefits from their technology. Daniel lowered his voice. Or maybe it's not a side effect at all. Susan looked uncomfortable. That sounds like conspiracy thinking. The Galadrians have only helped us. I know. But don't you miss the way humans used to be? All fire and passion and crazy ideas. Their conversation was interrupted when a Galadrian approached their table. The alien had the same pale blue skin as all the others, but Daniel had learned to recognize individual differences. This was Telv, a mid-level official. Daniel Wright, Susan Palmer. I hope your meal is satisfactory. It's excellent, thank you, Susan replied with a polite smile. The governing council arrives tomorrow. You both have important roles in the welcome ceremony. I trust you are prepared. After Telv left, Daniel and Susan finished their meal in silence. Both felt uneasy, but couldn't explain why. Far away on Europa, Admiral Frank Morrison watched the activity in the underground base. What had started as a small contingency plan had grown into a complete military installation. 3,000 personnel now lived and trained in the secret facility. Engineers had adapted Galadrian technology for human military applications. Soldiers trained daily, maintaining the combat skills the rest of humanity was forgetting. Morrison's second in command approached with a tablet. Sir, we received another transmission from Agent Martinez. Karen Martinez was one of several deep cover intelligence officers Morrison had placed in key positions on Earth. She worked as a communications specialist at the main Galadrian embassy. Morrison reviewed the data. These transmissions the aliens are sending past Pluto. Any progress decoding them? Our analysts think their status reports to someone else in their collective. The frequency increased after they announced the governing council's visit. Morrison nodded grimly. Keep monitoring. And make sure our defense systems stay at full readiness. Do you really think they'll attack, sir? I don't know. But I've never trusted anyone who insists I disarm completely for my own good. Back on Earth, preparations for the governing council's arrival reached their final stages. The massive Galadrian ship entered Earth orbit the next morning. It dwarfed their previous vessels, stretching nearly 5 miles long. Smaller craft shuttled. Between the mothership and Earth's surface, John Carter, now Earth's High Representative to the Collective, welcomed the first members of the Council as they disembarked. 7 different alien species stood before him, each unique in appearance, but all watching him with the same calculating gaze. On behalf of humanity, welcome to Earth, John said with practiced diplomacy, the central figure. Taller than the others, with skin so pale it was almost white, stepped forward. I am Exer, Prime Leader of the Galadrian Collective. We have observed your progress with great interest. That evening, a grand celebration took place in New York. Humans and aliens mingled while spectacular light displays filled the sky. Daniel Wright noticed that the humans seemed oddly subdued for such a historic occasion. They smiled and chatted, but their eyes lacked excitement. During the ceremony, Susan Palmer stood near the medical technology display. She noticed a Galadrian she had never seen before examining human brain scan images on a screen. The alien didn't realize Susan could see the display from her angle. Text flashed across the screen, neural compliance progressing as expected. Estimated full integration readiness, 6 months. Susan felt her heart race. What did full integration mean? She casually moved away, trying not to draw attention. She needed to tell Daniel what she had seen near the edge of the solar system. A small Galadrian scout ship suffered a catastrophic system failure. The pilot sent a distress signal but lost control as the ship spun toward Earth. The damaged vessel crashed into the Pacific Ocean near a remote research station. Alan Foster was monitoring marine life when the impact shook his small facility. He watched through the underwater viewing window as the alien craft sank to the ocean floor nearby. Protocol said to notify the authorities immediately, but something made him hesitate. Instead, he put on diving gear and swam to investigate. What Alan found inside the damaged ship would change everything humanity thought they knew about their alien benefactors. As he downloaded data from the craft's still-functioning computer, he realized with growing horror that Earth had made a terrible mistake. The Galadrians were not what they seemed to be, and time was running out. Alan Foster shivered as he climbed back into his small research station. His wet diving suit dripped on the metal floor. His hands trembled as he connected the data device he had taken from the crashed alien ship. The screen lit up with images that made his stomach turn. The video showed another planet with tall purple trees and two suns in the sky. The peaceful scene quickly changed to one of horror. Galadrian ships descended from the clouds. The native species looked similar to large deer with 6 legs. They carried no weapons. They approached the alien ships with open arms. Then the slaughter began. The Galadrians captured the creatures using energy nets. Some were taken into ships, while others were killed on the spot. The planet was stripped of resources in a systematic operation that looked well practiced. Alan watched more videos showing similar scenes on different worlds. All followed the same pattern. First contact, peaceful exchange, technology sharing, demilitarization, then complete takeover and resource extraction, including the harvesting of the native species themselves. Alan felt sick. This was the true nature of the Galadrians. This was what they planned for Earth. He needed to warn someone, but who would believe him? Most government officials worked closely with the aliens now. Who could he trust? He remembered rumors of a military holdout. Some soldiers had supposedly gone off-grid when the disarmament began. It seemed like a wild conspiracy theory at the time. Now it might be humanity's only hope. Alan had a friend from college who served in the Space Forces before they were disbanded. He might know something. Alan encrypted the alien data and sent a coded message to his old friend. Then he erased all evidence of what he had found and waited. 3 days later, a small unmarked shuttle landed near his research station. A woman in plain clothes stepped out. Alan Foster? I'm Karen Martinez. I believe you have something important to share. Alan studied her face. How do I know I can trust you? Karen showed him a small symbol tattooed behind her ear. Admiral Morrison sends his regards. Alan handed over the data device. The Galadrians aren't what they seem. We know. But this is the first solid evidence we've found. You need to come with me now. It's not safe for you here. They boarded the shuttle, which took off immediately. Karen explained that she worked as a deep cover agent within the Galadrian embassy. There's a resistance network, small but growing. Admiral Morrison has maintained a military base on Europa. They've been preparing for the day when we would need to fight back. The shuttle docked with a larger ship hidden in the asteroid belt. From there, they transferred to another vessel that took them to Europa. Alan was amazed to see the underground base when they arrived. Thousands of men and women in military uniforms moved with purpose through the facility. Training areas echoed with the sounds of combat practice. Engineers worked on weapons that combined human and alien technology. Admiral Morrison met them in a secure briefing room. He was older than Alan expected, with gray hair and a stern face that rarely smiled. Mr. Foster, your discovery confirms our worst fears. We've suspected the Galadrians' true intentions for years but lacked proof. Alan watched as Morrison's team analyzed the data he had recovered. The technical experts explained what they found. The neural changes observed in humans aren't accidental. The Galadrian technology emits subtle frequencies that alter brain chemistry. It makes people more passive and compliant over time. But why? Alan asked. Why not just attack us directly if they want our resources? A scientist named Susan Palmer answered. She had recently escaped from Earth after discovering troubling information. The Galadrians don't just want our planet. They want us. Human minds are unique in their combination of intelligence and aggression. They harvest compatible species and use them somehow. The changes they're making to our brains are preparation for some kind of neural harvesting. Admiral Morrison nodded. Grimly, they manipulate species into peaceful submission because it's more efficient than war. A population that willingly disarms itself is easier to control than one that must be conquered by force. What about the world leaders? Why haven't they noticed? Alan asked. They were the first targets, Karen explained. Anyone in a position of power has had the most exposure to Galadrian technology. They're already compromised. Their decision-making is affected. They trust the aliens completely now. The next day, Admiral Morrison called his top officers for a strategy meeting. The Governing Council's arrival was the final step before their takeover plan. Based on the data from the crashed ship, we estimate we have less than a month before they begin the harvest. What can we do? Asked one of the officers. We're outnumbered and outgunned. We fight smart, not hard, Morrison replied. Karen has identified key locations on Earth where the Galadrians are most vulnerable. We'll need to conduct precise strikes to disrupt their control systems. Morrison turned to Susan. How's your research progressing? Susan had been studying the neural influence technology. I've developed a countermeasure that can block the effects, but it only works for people who haven't been extensively exposed yet. Those who have worked closely with the aliens for years may be too far gone. Over the next week, Morrison activated sleeper agents across Earth. Lisa Blackwell, who had once worked with John Carter, was now coordinating resistance cells in major cities. Daniel Wright, who had noticed the changes in human creativity, joined the effort to spread Susan's neural countermeasure. Small groups began meeting in secret away from Galadrian. Monitoring systems. Alan worked with the technical team to analyze the aliens' communication systems. They discovered something unexpected. The Galadrians had a massive fleet hidden behind Jupiter. Hundreds of ships larger than anything they had shown to humans waited there. The invasion force was already in position. Why wait? Alan asked. Why spend 5 years slowly changing us if they could have taken over at any time? Admiral Morrison studied the fleet data. Because they don't want a damaged planet, they want compliant hosts. This isn't an invasion. It's a harvest. An alarm sounded through the base. Karen rushed into the command center. They know we're here. One of their scout ships detected our power signature. They've changed their timeline. The harvest is beginning now. On Earth, panic spread as the true nature of the Galadrians became clear. The massive mothership that had brought the Governing Council opened to reveal weapon systems. Smaller ships deployed across major cities. John Carter watched in horror from the embassy as the aliens he had trusted for years revealed their true faces. The peaceful masks were gone. The Galadrians had come to take everything, and humanity had willingly handed over the keys to their own destruction. The Galadrian ships moved into position above major cities around the world. People watched in confusion as the vessels they had welcomed for years suddenly deployed weapons. In New York, Ambassador Zorn addressed the panicked crowd gathered outside the embassy. His voice no longer held its usual warmth. Humans of Earth, your transition period is complete. You will now be integrated into the collective. Resistance is unnecessary and will only cause pain. Accept your place and you will serve a greater purpose. Inside the embassy, John Carter confronted Exer, the Galadrian leader. You lied to us. Oh. These years you pretended to be our friends. Exer's large eyes showed no emotion. We never lied. We offered peace and we delivered it. Your world has known 5 years without war. We offered technology and we provided it. Your people live longer, and healthier lives because of us. The fact that you failed to ask our ultimate purpose is not our deception, but your failure. John felt a rage he had not experienced in years. The fog that had clouded his thinking seemed to lift slightly. You manipulated us. You changed our brains. We improved them. We removed the destructive tendencies that made your species so dangerous. Soon you will understand the honor of serving the collective. Guards entered and took John away. Throughout the world, similar scenes played out as humans who had worked closely with the aliens were rounded up for processing, while Galadrian soldiers began securing key infrastructure. On Europa, Admiral Morrison watched the invasion unfold on screens around the command center. "They're moving faster than we anticipated. We need to launch now," Karen Martinez approached. "The Resistance cells on Earth are in position. They're waiting for your signal." Morrison nodded. "Tell them to focus on the communication relays first. We need to disrupt the neural influence broadcasts. Then target their transport ships. We can't match their firepower, so we don't try. Hit and run only." Susan Palmer entered with her team. "We've loaded the countermeasure into missile delivery systems. One burst should protect everyone in a 5-mile radius from the neural effects for about 6 hours. It's the best we can do for now. It will have to be enough." Launch the first wave. Small stealth ships left Europa carrying both soldiers and the neural countermeasure. They slipped past the main Galadrian fleet using technology reverse-engineered from alien craft. The first targets were the broadcast towers the aliens had built across Earth. These towers had been disguised as enhanced communication systems, but actually transmitted the subtle frequencies that affected human brains. Lisa Blackwell led the resistance cell in London. She had been one of the first to receive the neural countermeasure months earlier, when Karen recognized her growing suspicions about the aliens. Now she guided her team through the city sewers toward the main broadcast tower. "Remember, once we destroy this tower, we have less than an hour before they track us. Move to your secondary positions immediately after." Her team placed explosives at the base of the tower. As they retreated to a safe distance, Lisa sent the detonation signal. The tower collapsed in a shower of sparks. All across the planet, similar scenes played out as resistance fighters destroyed the alien influence network. People on the streets felt the change immediately. The mental fog that had slowly descended over the years began to lift. Confusion turned to anger as they realized how they had been manipulated. In some cities, people began fighting back against the alien soldiers using whatever weapons they could find. Daniel Wright led a group breaking into a Galadrian storage facility. They discovered weapons the aliens had confiscated during the demilitarization. "Distribute these to anyone who can fight. Focus on former military personnel first." The Galadrians responded with brutal efficiency. Their ships fired precision weapons at resistance strongholds. Their soldiers used advanced technology to subdue human fighters. They had not expected resistance, but were well prepared for it. What they had not prepared for was human unpredictability. Admiral Morrison deployed his forces using tactics the aliens had never encountered. Instead of defending key positions, his soldiers struck randomly, then disappeared. Instead of protecting civilian populations, they used civilians as cover, knowing the Galadrians wanted to preserve their harvest. Instead of facing superior firepower directly, they set traps and ambush. Alan Foster worked with the technical team to analyze Galadrian communications. "They're confused by our tactics. Their battle computers can't predict our movements because we're not following logical patterns." "That's our advantage," Morrison said. "They think like machines. Everything must make sense. Everything must be efficient. We need to be chaotic. We need to be human." The resistance launched its boldest move yet. A team led by Karen Martinez infiltrated the main Galadrian embassy in New York. Their mission was to rescue John Carter and other human leaders who might still be saved from neural programming. Karen disguised herself as a collaborator escorting prisoners. They found John in a processing center about to undergo final neural integration. Karen shot the alien technicians with a silent weapon. "John, can you hear me? We need to move now." John's eyes were unfocused. The years of exposure to alien influence had taken their toll. Karen injected him with a concentrated dose of the countermeasure. John gasped as clarity returned to his mind. "Karen, what's happening?" "I'll explain later. We need to get you and the others out now. Things about their plans that could help us." They freed 23 government officials but lost 5 team members in the process. As they escaped the building, John shared what he had learned. "They're planning to use humans as processing nodes. Our brains have a unique architecture they value. They connect us to their systems to enhance their collective intelligence. It's why they spent years making us more compliant instead of just wiping us out. Karen relayed this information to Europa. Morrison immediately understood the implications. That's why they focused on peaceful integration. They need our brains intact and functioning. They need us alive. This revelation changed their strategy. The Resistance began targeting the aliens' neural processing centers. These were the facilities where they prepared humans for integration into their systems. By destroying these centers, they forced the Galadrians to adjust their plans. The aliens responded by accelerating their timeline. More ships emerged from behind Jupiter. The invasion force was fully deployed now. Cities around the world faced direct assault as the Galadrians abandoned. Subtlety for brute force. Earth society fractured between those still under alien influence who willingly surrendered and those fighting back. For the first time in decades, humans fought humans as collaborators protected their alien masters. The Resistance faced enemies on two fronts while severely outgunned. Admiral Morrison gathered his commanders. We can't win a conventional war. We need something they won't expect. Something so contrary to their logical minds that it disrupts their entire operation. He looked around the room at the determined faces of Earth's last defenders. I need volunteers for a mission with no return ticket. Karen Martinez looked at the small team gathered in the launch bay. 12 volunteers, including herself, had stepped forward for the suicide mission. They would pilot a captured Galadrian shuttle directly to the mothership where the alien leadership coordinated the invasion. Their goal was to upload a virus into the central system and, if possible, capture or eliminate the governing council. No one expected to return. Admiral Morrison addressed the team one last time. What you're attempting goes against all military logic. The odds of success are minimal. The Galadrians would never consider such a mission because the cost-benefit analysis doesn't make sense. That's exactly why it might work. They cannot predict what they cannot understand. Karen checked her weapons one last time. The technical team had created a hybrid virus using both human programming and captured Galadrian code. It was designed to disrupt the neural harvesting process and hopefully free those humans already connected to alien systems. Susan Palmer had worked day and night to complete it before being evacuated to one of the Resistance safe zones. The shuttle launched quietly, blending in with the Galadrian ships, moving between Earth and the mothership. Alan Foster monitored their progress. From Europa base, they're accepting your identification codes. Docking sequence initiated. Karen led her team through the massive mothership. They wore captured Galadrian environmental suits, which helped them avoid immediate detection. The ship was like a city with thousands of aliens moving purposefully through its corridors. They followed the directions John Carter had provided based on his meetings with the governing council. They reached a massive chamber filled with clear pods. Each pod contained a human floating in bluish liquid with cables connected to their heads. The sight made Karen's stomach turn. These were the first wave of neural processors already integrated into the alien system. Some she recognized as government officials and scientists who had worked closely with the Galadrians. Plant the charges here, Karen whispered to half her team. The rest come with me to the central control room. As they moved deeper into the ship, they encountered more resistance. Their disguises could only get them so far. A guard stopped them at a security checkpoint. One of Karen's team acted without hesitation, shooting the alien before it could sound an alarm. They moved quickly now, knowing their presence would soon be discovered. The central control room was their target. This was the brain of the entire invasion force. According to their intelligence, it contained the quantum computers that coordinated all Galadrian ships and ground forces. It also housed the governing council. Meanwhile, on Earth, the main resistance forces launched a coordinated attack on key Galadrian positions. This was not meant to defeat the aliens, but to distract them from the real mission happening on the mothership. Lisa Blackwell led fighters in London. Daniel Wright coordinated attacks in New York. John Carter, using his knowledge of alien protocols, created false communications to confuse enemy forces. Admiral Morrison watched from Europa as the desperate plan unfolded. All units engage, give them everything we have. The human forces fought with a ferocity that shocked the Galadrians. They had studied human warfare for years but had never truly understood it. The aliens fought with perfect logic and efficiency. Humans fought with passion and desperation. They took risks no logical being would consider. They sacrificed themselves for the chance to save others. They fought hardest when victory seemed impossible. On the mothership, Karen's team reached the central control room. The firefight was brief but costly. 4 of her team died securing the entrance. Inside they found what they were looking for. The governing council sat in a circle around a glowing central column. They were connected to the system through tendrils that extended from their heads into the machine. Upload the virus now, Karen ordered as her remaining team secured the room. The technical specialist connected their device to the main system. Uploading, they're trying to block it. Karen saw movement from the corner of her eye. One of the council members had disconnected from the system. Exer, the Galadrian leader, approached her. This action is pointless. You cannot stop what has already begun. Maybe not. But we can make it cost more than it's worth. Karen had kept one detail of the mission secret even from her team. She activated the quantum bomb strapped to her chest. The device was powerful enough to destroy the entire control center and possibly the mothership itself. You never understood us. You thought making us peaceful would make us better. You were wrong. Exer's large eyes showed confusion. Your actions are irrational. You will die too. That's the point you never grasped. Humans are willing to die for a cause. We're willing to sacrifice everything to protect what matters. Your logical minds can't compute that. Before she could activate the final detonation sequence, a message came through her communicator. Wait, the virus is working. It's spreading through their entire system. On screens around the control room, she could see Galadrian ships losing power. The neural harvesting pods were opening, releasing their human captives. The virus had worked better than they had hoped. It wasn't just disrupting the neural harvesting. It was shutting down the entire Galadrian network. Karen grabbed Exer. Your invasion is over. The alien leader seemed genuinely puzzled. Why do you resist integration? We offered peace. We offered advancement. We offered an end to the warfare that has plagued your species. And that was your fundamental mistake. Conflict drove our greatest achievements. Competition pushed us. To excel, the threat of war made us vigilant and innovative. Peace is our aspiration, but struggle is our strength. All across Earth, the Galadrian forces fell into disarray as their command structure collapsed. The resistance quickly gained the upper hand. The aliens had never planned for a scenario where their technology failed them. They had no backup strategies. No contingency plans. Admiral Morrison received the news with grim satisfaction. Begin recovery operations. Priority is securing alien technology and freeing harvested humans. Karen and her surviving team members took control of the mothership. They used the command systems to broadcast surrender orders to all Galadrian forces. Most complied immediately, unable to function without central direction. In the days that followed, humanity began the long process of rebuilding. The neural influence had faded from most people's minds. They remembered with shame how easily they had been manipulated. They vowed never to be so vulnerable again. 1 month after the failed invasion, Admiral Morrison met with the new Earth Council. Representatives from all nations gathered to determine humanity's path forward. John Carter, now fully recovered from alien influence, addressed the assembly. We must learn from this experience. The Galadrians nearly destroyed us, not through superior weapons, but by exploiting our desire for peace. We must maintain that desire. We must strive for harmony among our own kind. But we must never again mistake complacency for peace or surrender. Our ability to defend ourselves. The Council voted unanimously to establish a new combined Earth Defense Force. They would use captured alien technology to build ships capable of protecting their solar system. They would maintain military readiness, Even while pursuing peaceful relations with any new species they might encounter, humanity had learned the hard way that the galaxy was not always a friendly place. They had also learned something about themselves. The very traits the Galadrians had tried to suppress had ultimately saved them. Human unpredictability, creativity, and even aggression, when properly channeled, were not weaknesses to be eliminated but strengths to be valued. As Karen Martinez watched Earth's first new defense ships launch, she thought about the Galadrian leaders. Confusion. He had never understood why humans would choose the difficult path of self-determination over the easy path of submission. He had never grasped that humans didn't secretly prefer war. They preferred freedom even when it came at a cost. And they would always fight to protect it.